Hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial presented by Code Cyclone. Today we are going to cover something that's a little bit off schedule, but that's alright. I got a request for it, so I figured I'd go ahead and get a tutorial up for it. It's getting your own custom model using the skeleton that that Unreal Tournament uses inside the game, along with its texture and all that stuff. So we'll be going to the material editor, we have a little bit of code to go through. But either way, we got a lot of stuff to get through, so I figure we better just get into it. So first off, I have this folder here, and it's got all three items that I need. It's got an FBX, which is the model. That's model.fbx. And then this particular model has three textures. It has one for the body, the ears, and the face. This is more or less dependent on your content creating artists. You know, whether your modeler makes one file for all three of these textures. It's very possible depending on how they skin it. But I mean, in this case, I did it just so that we could see how we can do extra textures. So anyways, first thing you're going to need to do is we need to create what we call a package in Unreal. And basically that's the idea that we are going to have this stuff, which is our, if you recognize it, it's our model, and then each of those textures. Now, in order to get my own package like I have here, because typically when you open up the content browser, actually it should be all the way down here. Nope, maybe not. Well, typically you won't see all this stuff. You'll see like new package or something like that. All you have to do to make a new one is simply click New, give it a new package name. So we'll say package content 2. We don't want a grouping, we'll just give it a name of whatever. And for some reason Unreal makes you put a default object in there. I think that's just so you don't have an empty package. So we'll just call it that. We hit OK. It's going to open up the material editor because that's what we picked. But as you can see, here's our package. Alright, with our blank item. When you go to save it, it's going to yell at you and say, hey, I need a place to stick this thing. Typically what I like to do is put it inside this in a folder named after my project inside the content folder. Which all the content folder is it's inside the UDK directory for generic shooter. It would be UDK game, then content. Now I've gone ahead and created a generic shooter folder already, which you guys can call whatever you want. Just make it something you'll know. And then I stored my package in here. Alright, now I'm not going to go ahead and save a second one in there because that's kind of irrelevant. We can, we'll just leave it alone for now. No, fine, whatever. We'll save it. Okay. Sure. I don't know how that got in there, but whatever. We'll erase it real quick. Okay, so let's get to importing some content, because that's really the backbone of this tutorial. So we're going to right-click, and if you're going to create something, you can pick from one of their prefabs, or you can go to Import, and it'll open up a File Open dialog, and we'll go and navigate to our folder here. And you can highlight many items, and as long as it can detect what type of item it is, it typically will take it. There's a few restrictions on that though, especially with textures, PNG files, JPEGs, that kind of thing. They have to be perfectly square and perfectly squared in value, so it has to be 256 by 256, 512 by 512. You get the idea. So it has to be a power of 2 in a square form, so 16 by 16. Like I said, you guys get the idea. Now, one good habit to get into, let's say we're going to import this guy here. When you do that, it's going to give you this little dialog, and it's going to show you the package you're in currently, a grouping, which is like if you had a box, and you're going to stick all your stuff for the game in that box. What you would do with that is simply, you would put smaller boxes in there to kind of organize them. It's like having shelves inside your garage. Same idea. So I could do like models, and the model's name will be model, just for this instance. So we hit OK. It's going to import it, and as you can see here, under my package I have models, and then player, which was my original one. So we can go ahead and just, yeah, we'll toss him, that's fine. Okay. So after you've done that, and you've got all your textures, you should have these 4 files in. Alright. Now what you're going to have to do is, in order to get any type of graphic onto a skeletal model or to any object in the game, you have to have what they call a material. Unreal calls it material anyways. So what you'll do is you'll right click, new material, give it a name, and when you click on it, we'll go to the body one, for example, this guy. Oop, actually, I don't like that one. Let's I think it was the face, actually, was the one I wanted. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it'll look something like this, except this will not be here. Now all you have to do is, if we slow this down a little bit, we can click there, close you out, and then we'll find this again, right click, new texture, and you can pick from any of these. Typically I use texture sample or texture sample parameter 2D, whichever one. Right click it and you'll see that it will select whatever you had selected inside the content browser. Now this tutorial is not going to really go comprehensively over what this does, but eventually, and if you're a programmer, you really should never have to touch this anyways, but just in case you do, it's always good to know. This is the material editor, and what it does is it allows you to turn a sequence of material parameters into like a math equation. So say I wanted to add some specularity, which means, you know, like brightness or shininess to a model for this particular material. What I would do is I would do new constants and give me a number constant here. We'll say 10, and let's do another math function. We'll do where'd it go? Multiply. There we go. We got a multiply here. We connect the two just like in Kismet. It actually is almost identical to Kismet, except the sequences are flowing the opposite direction now. We'll set that to there, and this to specular. See how it got shinier? I'm going to go ahead and disable it so you guys can see. See, without it, you put it on, and it starts getting all shiny. It's cool, right? But you can do all kinds of things, from glowing effects to just really about anything with this. So I mean, it's very powerful. So once you do that, we'll go ahead and save that. It's going to recompile that material. We open our browser back up. Once you've done that for all three of your materials, or however many materials you have, whether it's one or whatnot, let's go ahead and apply it to the model. So we're going to right click on the model, and it'll open up the animation set editor. And what you're going to do is, over here in its properties, you're going to have materials. And when you import the model, it should automatically generate one material item for each section on your skin, or skins for that matter. This one has 3, like I said, so face, body, and ear, and they're in order for which the creator of the model specified when it exported. So in this case, the author of this one made the face one, then the body, then the ear, in that order. Or at least he made it so that they were registered in that order, rather. So I added all 3 of mine, and you can do this just like you did in the other one. Well, actually not quite. You will highlight the material. You'll highlight it, minimize that, go back to here, and then you can just click on that and that arrow and it'll change it. Just for sake of argument so you guys can see, let's go to the body and we'll change it to that. See how he's got heads all over him now? We can actually, because I know what it's called, call that body again, and voila. But you see the idea? Yeah, with that, we'll get into that. So next thing you want to notice is the origin I have offset by 70 units. This is actually kind of an oversight. It's more like 66 units or so. What this is doing is, I've found, at least whenever I've worked with Unreal, that my models always tend to be floating when I first patch them in. So just out of good habit, I'll push them down a little bit until I get it just right. I don't quite know why that is, or if I'm missing something, inside the engine to set that, but the fellows who who do models for me typically, or fella rather, we don't know. It's something that's going to need someone who's higher expertise than I am to fix that. But just so you guys can get it running and you can see what's going on, go ahead and push it down roughly 60 or so units for the basic skeleton, because this thing isn't very much, or is not much bigger than the original skeleton. It hasn't been stretched or anything, rather. Okay, next we have one final thing to do with the model, and if you go over to Mesh and then Socket Manager, you'll notice that I got these things defined. Actually, you can see them on the model itself. Now, if you're not familiar with sockets, think of it like a Lego piece. or a Lego man. You know, he's got those the little square on the bottoms of his feet, and he's got his hand open and stuff. Imagine those little openings where you can stick things in as sockets. It's just a relative point on something. So in this case, the one you really need to do, right now anyways, is weapon point. And as you can see here, it's on the right hand. And all you have to do to get it in there is hit new socket, pick whichever bone you want. In this case, it was B right hand, so it should be down right there. Hit OK, give it a socket name, and when you do that, it'll show up there, and you can translate it as much as you want to the left, right, or whatever in either direction, or even rotate it for that matter, if rotation matters. For Unreal, however, the rotation doesn't really matter as far as I've ever seen. Because I mean, really, in this case, it's just getting a location to stick the weapon. That's all it is it's just socketing that weapon to that socket. But go ahead and do that one just so you can see some progress in there. But these other ones, these two are used for the hoverboard when you're playing vehicle capture the flag, and the dual weapons if you're using 2 pistols or something like that. Or if you're using, I believe it's called the Stinger in Unreal. The like chain gun thing they got. Yeah. Alright, so now that we got all that done, you can test your model real quick inside the editor by simply going over to the animation tab here and selecting, where is it? K_anim_human_base_male. It should be 124 is the number next to it in square brackets. And as soon as you click on it, you should see him start to move a little. Now in the search bar here, let's type in run. And if you click on one of them and then hit play, we'll go and loop it. You can see him running backwards, running forward with a pistol, running forward with DPI. I don't know what DPI is. That looks like running with the red flag, running with a rifle. But you got all these nifty little little things, but you can actually see it running, which is good. It's a good way to test it. So it looks pretty good. Alright, so let's go ahead and slow that. Stop that for now. We can close this out, and now the next important thing is to make sure you open your content browser, click inside your package, and even if none of these have asterisks, which what that means is that it needs to be saved, save it anyways. I found it a good habit just to save as often as you can inside the content browser, because weird, wonky stuff tends to happen. It never likes to play nice with me anyways. So make sure you guys save as much as you can, especially when doing content stuff, because a lot of this is pretty tedious. For instance, some materials that I've done before can have gotten pretty wide, and having to do them over and over because I've actually messed it up myself, where it's frozen, or you know, that build of the UDK just was very temperamental or something like that. But just make sure you save. Really can't drive that point home more. So that's going to cover the content part of this tutorial. In the next video, we're going to go over the code and actually seeing the model in-game for our player, and explaining a couple new source files that we have to create in order to make this work. So till next time, guys, I will see you then.